Okay, so we've got a top bar hive that's flipped upside down, and the components of the Nuc-Up box right here. This bottom is one that I just permanently nailed on, so this one's not intended to be taken off, but it's just what I have on hand. You know, typically I sell them with a bottom that you can screw off. So this one, you know, I just pry the bottom off, and then I would put on this shorter bottom board and screw that in place. You know, I'd use some screws, 2 screws here, and then a few screws at an angle to grip into the body of the hive. That leaves an empty space right over here on the side, where the cradle, so there'd be an opening right here. This bottom board's no longer here. The shorter one's on. Now there's a gaping hole in the bottom of the hive. And that gaping hole is to allow the nuc box to fit there. You know, so this nuc box, which would fit the frames from a Langstroth hive, is then flipped upside down and put there. But really, you know, what we've got is the cradle. You know, so the cradle is piloted with some holes. Doing this one-handed here. So that it would, like, you know, it'd screw into the end of the hive and on top of that new bottom board. And then the nuc box itself ends up sliding, sliding under and in. Just doing this all one-handed anyway. And so you can see there is a difference in height and everything. It's all made to fit nice and flush once everything is in place underneath the hive. And then it's got a couple of these like little roofs with screws and everything. It's pre-drilled. You can kind of tell the screws are on this end here, which means this is the roof that goes against the wall of the hive here and butts up against the wall of the hive. And the same thing with this one. So these screws, installing this, I wouldn't put, you know, I'd have all of this stuff ready to go and make sure everything just kind of fits. And, you know, it'd end up overhanging. And, you know, of course, then the day when you're going to install the bees, you know, basically it's like the cradle's installed, the bottoms, the new base bottom board is installed, and then you're pulling this out, you're dropping in the frames from the nuc that you just got, and then you're sliding this back into the cradle underneath the hive. And then, you know, and then carefully brushing bees off and everything. And, you know, maybe smoking them down to get in, and then screwing this into its final place. And then, of course, you're going to open up whatever entrance hole happens to be above that box. Because you want them using, there's no entrances on this box. You want them using the entrances that are in the top bar hive itself. Now, ideally, you also then, you know, if you're working with this, there is quite a bit of distance for them to work from the base of the hive to from the nuc box up into the top bar hive. So, you know, really, ideally what you do want to have is you want to have some drawn comb that happens to fit your top bar hive. You know, you may not have drawn comb, but if you do, or if you can get a hold of like one comb or even a part of a comb to even tack on, where they can go from that nuc box underneath, and it'll serve as a bridge. So, you know, I end up keeping, if you happen to have started a top bar hive with a package before, and you were fortunate enough and smart enough to save one of the combs, that comb can sit above the nuc box underneath and serve as a bridge for them to build the rest of the combs in the hive. You can see that this one is one that is, I kind of use it for comb storage right now. But, you know, so if down the road I'm starting a new hive somewhere else with a nuc, I can just put in the drawn comb and let them get going and let the queen start laying up from the nuc box and work her way up into the rest of the hive. So, yeah, that's all. Again, you'd probably leave this nuc box on for a solid year. You really wouldn't take it off for, like, I wouldn't harvest honey from the colony, or take that nuc box off until the following spring, or so. And it could even stay on permanently. Really, there's no rush. You can just, you know, you can really just leave it on there as space for them to build in it, to lay in, and use as resources. I mean, honestly, it's like you think to yourself, if you took it off, what would you do with it? If you don't have any good use for the comb and everything that you would take from it, well, just leave it on there as drawn comb that they could lay in. And so it actually would overall expand the volume of the cavity that you have for the top bar hive. All right, hope that helps.